Um, Week 2 of awareness training. We are following the tree, and we're using the three statements of Garab Dorje as the overall framework. The three statements being there, this is what you are. There, nothing else matters. There, let it unfold. Um, First statement, there, this is what we are. This is what you are, is about being introduced to awareness, to the nature of mind, our own nature. Thus, this is what we are. And today we're going to explore a little bit what are the characteristics of awareness, or what a little try to describe a little bit more positively what is awareness. And this is important because some of you in your check-ins mentioned, being in a heady space, exploring intellectual debates of various sorts. And in awareness practice, the practice of view is actually quite important. And by view, it's you can think of view as, this is the classic term. You could think of view as model. What is the model of what is awareness? And it's important because the view inform how we relate to experience. There's kind of a feedback loop that creates where we try to live the view. So we need to understand a little bit the view, the principles, and then we grapple with it in our experience, where it clarifies itself. In a way, you could say this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and kind of, yes, that's a valid criticism, but at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. So, and that's how it works. So we learn to learn the view, we live the view, we discuss with our teachers, who are able to point where help us hone in on the experience to be able to more and more fully live the view. It said that the only practice often of Dzogchen is living the view. That sometimes it's expressed that way. So today I'm going to dive a little bit into the view of awareness. And last week, if you recall, I mentioned how much poetry we find in these teachings. And the reason is, whenever we start to look at awareness, somebody was saying losing words and not feeling like a little toddler learning to speak, exploring this, we encounter paradox. The world of awareness is it brings us head to head with a paradoxical thinking, because which our logical mind usually recoils from. A paradox is something we need to solve. It cannot be both false and true at the same time. This is impossible, doesn't make sense, and we get really, the part of us who identify as a rational human being, logical, really hates that. It's kind of, no, it cannot be true and false. It not matters. And this is where, like, the world of poetry, which is bigger, where things can be true and false, and both, and neither of them at the same time. This is just the world is. I think it was bad Shakespeare quote, but the word is, it was like, there's more in the stars than in your philosophy, or say it another way, the word is way weirder than we think it is. So what's the inherent paradox in the way that the awareness view describes this paradox is through this is a mouthful. You've probably heard it before, but our being is the non-duality of form and emptiness. So what does that mean? Especially, well, form, we kind of usually have an idea of what it means. Non-duality is kind of this paradox that things are, they're not opposed. They're all they are at this. They are two faces of the same coin. That side of that kind of idea, and usually emptiness is this. Okay, what do we mean by emptiness? So non-duality, a form of emptiness. This is the most essential expression of the view here. There's multiple ways, again, to describe emptiness, and different tradition will talk about it in different ways. And and often if you haven't heard it, you might have encountered. Usually, you know that when you're emptiness, it's a big deal. It's something. There's something very profound or essential about it, and this is unfortunate because that's usually opened the door to all sorts of projections. This is very complex. It's beyond my reach, beyond my pay grade at the end. This is not the view that we're using here. I mean, there's good reasons why it's explained that way in certain traditions. But here, what we're really interested about the the experiential nature of emptiness. What does it refer to in our day-to-day experience? And actually, from that perspective, everyone has an experience of emptiness multiple times a day. It's because you cannot escape it. It's everywhere. So we encounter it like many, many, many times a day. Now, a good way to understand the non-duality of form and emptiness is through its opposite, or not its opposite, but what does it mean to talk about the duality of form and emptiness? And this is what can be sometimes referred to samsara. Living in samsara is living in duality. And the one way to express that, which I particularly like, is expressing duality as a habit. We have the habit of dualistic thinking, or the habit. And what is this habit? This habit is actually of separating form from emptiness. And this is the hook, is that we separate them, and actually we separate them because we have preferences. We have our preferences from form over emptiness. So we try to affirm form, build form, and rejects and run away from emptiness. So that's why we don't have we feel we don't know emptiness, because day to day we run away from it. What is this? Another, so the habit of duality, Chogyam Trungpa would call this ego. I mean, when we're talking about ego and trying to get out of ego, in a way, I personally, I'm not a fan of this language because it makes ego a thing and kind of has like a reification aspect. But and then there's something we're fighting with. Whereas to me, ego is just like a more like a habit or a process that happens, which is natural, but is not the old story. There's more to the story than just that. But it's useful to use ego here, because usually this form that we are trying to maintain, the stronger forms are always related to our self-identities, the identities that we want to maintain. These are all the reference points we establish which asserts our existence in a way. In form, existence clear. There is this monitor exists. I exist. This phone exists. I can touch it. I can work with it, I can play with it, I can manipulate it. Existence is clear in the world of form. And emptiness is everything that kind of, in a way, threatened forms, is that when things are unclear, nebulous, where is it is this black, is this white? I don't know. Where's the shore? The sand, the beach starts, the ocean, this area in between, liminal, where, okay, is this the shore? Is this the ocean? I cannot know. I guess it's both. It's neither. It's something else. All of these dimensions. And you can feel like this little edge in my voice, because that's usually often, reaction we have to this is that this creates anxiety, fear. So yeah, all of these aspects are aspects of reality and of existence. And that's that when we talk about the form and the non-duality of form and existence is that it's kind of honoring, embracing the fact that the two always comes together. There is I exist, I have this form, but I'll die. That's at some point this being, this embodied being will stop working, it will rot, it will be burned, whatever. This is part of the emptiness aspect, which is, I mean, even like in our own body, we our cells are regenerated, the cells die. There's always like life and death going on in all forms, even if it's at slow or fast scales, But this is the aspect of emptiness which we are not habituated to deal with, or to that we. And this is in classic Buddhist teaching, you might know this is where the three poisons come in. If you recall, the three poisons are clinging, aversion, and ignorance. But there's multiple different words. That's why the first one is, because sometimes desire, but I think clinging gives better the idea. And the three poisons are all the ways that the dualistic habit intervenes to avoid forms. So clinging, we cling to form. There's this form, and we're going to defend it because we really don't want to lose it, which actually the fear of losing is more aversion. But there is this definition here is kind of somebody is having a different definition or trying to expand my definition of this thing. I feel threatened by that. This is aversion. I'm going like to attack it to make sure that the form can be maintained. Or the third one, ignorance, it's kind of, this doesn't really relates to my identity or this thing of thing. It doesn't affirm it. It doesn't challenge it. I guess I'll just ignore it. This is how the third poison comes in. So in a way, what this means is that we're always dealing with only a subset of our experience, of our being. And more than that, we're usually trying to split ourselves off and rejecting the parts that are related to this emptiness quality. So form emptiness, you can use other words and further of that, in a way, they don't function as clear concept. And the more we try to really define and precise one thing, this is like a movement towards form, the more we'll be missing the nebulosity, another word for emptiness or chaos, that is inherent. So if we really want to be able to embrace the whole of existence, we need to be able to see both the patterns and where there is no patterns, where there is just this impossible to name thing, which can be named emptiness. Yeah, so that gives you like two pointers to experience. And one way of living the view is in a way kind of trying to apply these principles or these way of seeing in your experience, and recognizing form and recognizing emptiness and our reactions to emptiness. And the first, the practice you were introduced to last week, doing nothing or remaining uninvolved. This is really about coming into contact with the emptiness dimension of existence. Because that's usually, like I said, this is the dualistic habit. It makes us run away from it. So that's usually where we have less experience. So we And awareness is present in both. That's the idea. There's awareness even when there is nothing there, or we think we see nothing, or the form is not clear. But to be able to maintain awareness at that moment, that requires being able to stay, to rest in the when emptiness is more present than the form aspects. That's why remaining uninvolved, it's kind of means like it's in a way it's a move away from form. It's not the end. This is just the first step, but the idea there is to gain familiarity with emptiness. The realization being then, this is a huge shortcut, but I still exist when I'm not thinking. That's basically the experience. It's kind of, because usually we're always thinking, always involved with the forms of our thoughts, because that's a good way to affirm our existence, and if we look, especially if you've done some mindfulness and experience your thoughts as thoughts, we come to realize that many of our thoughts are about defining who we are, our plans, our projects. This is the daydreaming, or in Neurodharma, they'll talk about the default mode network, which is just generating things. And then this is comforting because we know we exist when we're thinking. Descartes, I think, therefore I am. And then, but in Shine, or do nothing, we're involved with thoughts, and then we let go. And then at some point, you might experience thought not appearing frantically after one thought disappears, and then the next one doesn't appear right away. There's kind of a gap there. And that gap is to be able to rest in that gap means being able to recognize awareness, and then, I can be here in between two thoughts and not freak out. I'm not dying. It's just thinking is not happening in this moment, and that's fine. And then usually we'll think about the fact that, there was no thinking for a minute. Great. But in the no thinking, there was recognition in the no thinking before the thinking commented on the thing. So that's kind of the purpose of the first level of practice, is to be able to experience the emptiness dimension we've been running away from most of our lives. One way of describing that type of meditation, or sometimes is, or even a translation, Shine from Tibetan, one possible translation is getting used to. So by sitting in without doing anything, not being non-involved, what we are learning is getting used to the mess of our life, and also this experience of emptiness. Which is, like I said, very, very mundane in many ways. It's kind of the breaking downs of the confusion, yes, every time we're not sure what's happening, those sort of things, these can be interpreted as like the emptiness aspect of existence being more present. Yes. So at this point here, when this view, we're still separating form and emptiness, but we're changing the relationship, where usually we separate them to run away from emptiness and just affirm form. Here, we are able to see them both as two things, and not, in a way, letting go slightly of our form preferences. That's kind of this first step of practice. Somebody mentioned the 4 now drawer, so this is the first now drawer. It's in a way to move towards emptiness. In awareness is neither form nor emptiness, so it's their non-duality. So at some point we'll need to reintroduce form, or return to form with a different relationships towards it. Which we'll be exploring further down. So that's kind of the what I wanted to say on form and emptiness. I'm going to stop here and answer questions, and then I'll cover the guided meditation. So in the guided meditation today, we're going to work with concentration. So using concentration to, in a way, fine tune so that the image or we're more fully able to be present to awareness, and this same like effort releasing aspect will be this is what will be the topic of the social meditation practice today. So this was introduction to the non-duality of form and emptiness.